Well, good Monday morning. Thanks for joining us here at 10 Tampa Bay Plus for our Weather Impact Live. We got lots to talk about. Meteorologist James Hopkins with
meteorologist Mike Prangley, and we've got big news in the tropics. Take it away, James.
Yeah, of course, and if you just watched, you're still just continuing your news coverage here. We did have a newly named storm. It is Tropical Storm Erin. You see, we still got quite a bit of stuff going on here in the tropics. We got a couple of low potential systems. Of course, that's not what the big talk is going to be about. It's going to be about that area that is actually still marked in red, but that right there is Tropical Storm Erin. Winds at 45 miles per hour. Central pressure still above 1,004, moving to the west at 20 miles an hour, which is actually relatively fast. But first off, we'll talk about how far this thing is away. So let's start here at Tampa. And you're talking about 3,600 miles away. So this one's going to take a little while to get here, even at going about 20 miles per hour. So again, we got plenty of time to watch this. So no worries here so far. So again, this is the time, really any time of the year that you need to prepare. But now that we're talking about the potential for our first hurricane of the season, we've seen a couple of tropical storms. We've seen 3 so far, 4. And now we're again going to continue with this one. All forecast models show this one becoming a hurricane. So we'll zoom in just a little bit. And you can see the circulation there. So it did. And again, we hit on this last week because we had that wave that come off the coast of Africa. We're showing you the models of that one. It was just embedded in dust and shear and just didn't have much of a potential. That is one of the two that are left with that 10% low chance for development. But Tropical Storm Erin, as you can see there with those 45 mile per hour winds, was just upgraded throughout the morning hours. And you see here's your forecast models, 50, 60, and then throughout the day on Wednesday, expecting this to become sometime throughout the day, a hurricane. Again, here, as you can see, expecting to go from 70 to 80 mile per hour for your winds. So there's your category 1. You continue to take this out and you can see there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 8 a.m. models suggesting that this one is going to be a category 3 storm, which again would be our very first major hurricane, well, first hurricane of the year, but our first major hurricane. So again, you see where that is Saturday at 8 a.m. And again, it looks like it's heading right for us. So there's Tampa. And you can still see it's about 1,500 miles away. And this is on Saturday morning. So again, anything that comes off the coast there of Africa, you know it's got a good 10 days before it gets to us. So watching that out a little bit further, let's take you some of the forecast models, the spaghetti plots as we call them, because those go a little bit further than that cone. That cone goes out 7 days. And you can see there, we'll stop it at 8 a.m. on Saturday. So you can see models in very good agreement of that west and then eventually a west-northwest track. It starts to make a turn, and the good news is, again, it looks like it's going to miss here the lesser Antilles there. These are your greater Antilles, and of course there's the Bahamas, and you can see that tiny speck. That is Bermuda. So take this on out, and you can see Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it makes that turn. Unfortunately, it does look like there's a lot of models here, these here, that are going to take it pretty close to Bermuda again as potentially a category 3 storm. So we'll be watching that. There's only a few stragglers that would take it a little closer to the coast, and I'll show you the models, the GFS and the European model, to show you kind of the comparison. And they're in pretty good agreement. So here you go. And again, what we're watching Erin here. So we'll actually overlay the spaghetti plots on there, and you can see how they kind of follow with some of that dust. Not a lot of it, not as thick. Again, you see this area up here to the north of that. This is the area that we were watching last week, which at one point in time had a 60% potential for subtropical development, and that one is again down to 10. It battled a lot of dust as we went throughout last week and through the weekend. But take this one out, and again, so we will have a little bit of impact from dust, but I don't think it's going to be as much as we need to maybe help choke this one out, because again, there's not many forecast models that have it weaker than a category 2. So 2 to 3, and we'll see how this goes. But you can kind of see where some of them end. Again, here's your Canadian model, has it ends right here. And again, this is just the end of the model run, not that it's saying it's going to die out there. But you can see where some of the forecast models take it. Now, one of the things, of course, is we know very warm ocean temperatures on its entire track. We're looking at coming off the coast of Africa in the low 80s, and then you can see 83, 85, 86. So it's going to be running into some even warmer water. And one of the things we got to look at, again, is that shear. So we'll watch the shear as we go throughout the track as well. So here's your tropical wind shear. Let's this thing unfreezes. It likes that, the water temperature one. Okay, so here we go. So as you can see, there it is. It's kind of hard to see embedded in all that, but there's Tropical Storm Erin here. Does have a little bit of wind shear, but just not really that much. Some down to the south, a lot up to the north, and again, that's where these other two systems are kind of embedded, but Erin's not going to be dealing with too much shear. So here's your wind shear forecast, and again, not a lot. There's not a lot of wind shear here, so again, a little bit of dust. The wind shear looks like it's staying to the south. It does run into some wind shear here, as you can see, as we get a little closer to the end of the week, so you can see some shear around that. But again, you got to remember, if this thing is Cat 2, Cat 3, by then it's going to create some of its own wind shear. But it does have some wind shear to the north. You can kind of see here as well. And then let's look at the European model. So again, one thing we continue to mention is you look at the green here. That is the high pressure. So what we're doing here is we're watching for the edge of that high pressure for it to make that turn. So here's your system here, so it needs to go around. Now here's the good thing about if this thing does strengthen up very quickly, in nature, in weather, it's the strongest system wins. So if the Cat 3 storm is stronger than that ridge of high pressure, it can make a turn earlier. It doesn't have to wait for as weak of an edge to be able to make that turn. But we're going to watch this try to go up and around. So if that high pressure would keep a hold of Bermuda there, then possibly. But look at that turn. See the high pressure starting to break down there? And that's, again, where you're going to start to see it make that turn around that edge. And that's when it makes its turn up towards the north. Now again, that high pressure is also a forecast. So the European model has that thing moving a little bit further towards the east, or maybe that outer edge weakening just a little bit. And if another forecast model has a little stronger, that's why the track is pushed closer to the coast. Again, there's a lot of factors that go into not only strength of the system, but what steers it. But what steers it is that high pressure, and the forecast, whichever model, has it pinpoints when it weakens, but there it is. As you can see, that's a pretty strong hurricane right there, moving its way up the coast, but it shows it going between the Carolinas and Bermuda, and that would be, again, next Thursday. That's not this Thursday, that's the 21st. That is next Thursday, and not really going to have too much an effect on us. Of course it will. The east coast of Florida, all the way up the coast of the Carolinas, you're going to get high surf, you're going to get rip currents as this one comes close. So that's your European model. We'll kind of do the same thing with the GFS model, and I'll show you the model comparison here in just a second. But again, going around that edge and look at the GFS model, it shows the high pressure kind of sliding over a little bit, or at least weakening, and that one's going to brush the west coast of Bermuda. Again, this is the forecast model, and again, this is over a week out. So this could change. This is why, of course, we continue to watch these things like we do, but this one, again, has it going right there. You can see where Bermuda is right there, and that would be a glance by a major hurricane as we go into early next week. This does have a little further off the coast of the Carolinas there, which will be a little bit better, but you're still going to get impacts along pretty much the entire east coast from this when it comes to high waves and rip currents as well. And then it has it kind of curving right around Bermuda and then heading out to sea. So look at your wind models, and again, this kind of helps show the strength as well. This one's the European model. It shows it becoming pretty well defined as we go throughout the end of the week. And again, here's where your forecast models have this one becoming a Cat 3 Saturday, Sunday, and you can tell, and again, your rings there, the more rings you have, the stronger the system is, the lower that center pressure is. And you can see there, by the time we get to Monday, that one's pretty strong. Again, you can see where Bermuda is right there. And that one starts to make that turn. And again, it's still over 1,000 miles from us, which again is good news for us. but unfortunately not good news for Bermuda. We like to see that make the turn a lot earlier and stay away from Bermuda. Here's your GFS model, and I'll put these two together for you and kind of show you what they're both looking at. But again, this one has it strong as well, and you can see there where it moves its way right up towards Bermuda. That's as far as this model goes. But you can see there, again, there's Bermuda, and it's making that turn, barely brushing it. Put these forecast models together, and they are in pretty good agreement. As you saw the spaghetti plots, the forecast models are in pretty good agreement, and your intensity models are as well. It has it ranging from a weak Cat 2 to a weak Cat 3. But again, this is still pretty far out, so a lot of things will change between now and then, but you can kind of see them in really good agreement as we go throughout this week here. Here's Friday afternoon, both in agreement right there. And then we take that through the weekend and look at your intensity as well. They're in really good agreement on that as this thing strengthens through the weekend. And again, what the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center showing is this one becoming a Cat 3 Saturday. So this shows by Monday, possibly, some of those models that might not have it quite as a Cat 3 by Saturday, they look like they pretty much come into agreement there. And there's your Monday, and then again, it's kind of hard to see where Bermuda is kind of hidden underneath there. But again, there's your European model, shows a little bit closer to the coast. The GFS model shows it a little further from the coast, but both of them having it pass between the Carolinas and Bermuda as we go throughout the week next week, somewhere possibly between maybe Tuesday to Thursday. So depending if it slows down or if it picks up a little bit of speed. So we'll continue to watch that one. Again, forecast models are in really good agreement on that one, so that's good news. Even when you're talking about a week out, if your models are in agreement, that's some pretty good consistency there. That's some high confidence. It's whenever you have one that goes into the Gulf and one that goes to the east of Bermuda that we really can't pinpoint anything. So we have two other systems we're watching, and again, this was this one here was the one we've been watching since last week. We watched it go all the way up to 60% potential for tropical development, and Mike did that on purpose. I know he did.
Let's go. I'm ready.
Well, what we're looking at again is this one right here. That is the one that, again, we've been watching since last week. That's the one that has been fighting the dust, still kind of fighting a little bit of wind shear. And then this one up here as well, only about a 10%. And you can kind of see when it's overlaid, this water temperature for this one up to the north is not looking good. If that one continues to push its way up towards the north, then we're not expecting that much out of that one. Mike's just going to put the remote down now. But again, just quickly showing you this one as well. Okay. Now watch, I'm going to stop it here as we go towards the end of the week. And you can see that this one here, it shows it going up towards the north. This one's not really showing much still, again, which is why National Hurricane Center, I think, dropped that one all the way down to 10. Yeah. And if we continue to take that out, it just has nothing. So don't really think too much is going to go on with either of those. But look at this. Now look at Monday, where it has, again, the one we're watching. And then it has this here. This is something completely different. This is a low that's going to be coming off with a front. So we'll see what happens with that one. But again, that one could just be a low. That one doesn't have to be tropical, but we're always watching. And look at your GFS model as well. We'll kind of do the same thing. And again, we know what's happening with the one down to the south, but we go throughout this week and we go Wednesday into Thursday, and there it is once again. You can see this one pushing straight up to the north. It's going to push its way into cooler waters. And again, there is some wind shear up there as well. So don't think really much is going to be happening with that one or really this one. What we're, of course, is going to be watching is this. We're going to be watching what Mike and I pretty much both agree is going to be Hurricane Erin by the time we go towards the end of the week, and potentially a major hurricane by the time we go into or really through the weekend. So that's what we've been dealing with right now. And again, we're looking at the potential for some wind shear there. And we got good news for our forecast, though. I know we dealt with a lot of rain over the weekend, Mike, and it's just something we need to dry out. We keep talking about, we need the rain, and then we get a month's worth of rain in 4 days. So looks like we got some good news coming.
We do, and a lot of excitement in there. It's the back-to-school forecast, and the good news is all of that rain we had over the weekend continues to move away for the rest of our Monday. So some great news here, but it wasn't so great over the weekend. Buckets of rain. Let's take a look, and Chris will call up some video for us around the area. This was areas of Pinellas County. I mean, those roads turn more into like rivers out there, and some stranded cars, unfortunately. And this is why our weather team says, yes, turn around, don't drown. Never cross roadways that are covered by water. It doesn't take much to sweep a car away, and yeah, that's what you do not want to do. So this is a good example of what not to do with flooding in the area we saw yesterday. And that's why we had that weather impact alert. We said we're not just going to get our typical summer rain. We are going to just be swamped, and that certainly looks like some swampland there out toward Gulfport. And we had an upwards of 5 to 9 inches of rain, and I'll show you that coming up. Not only were there flood issues here at home, but again, around the country, this has been the theme this summer. Check out Wisconsin. Now, I've got family up there, okay, so I got to check on, make sure everybody's okay, especially Rob up there and his family. You can see just cars inundated, water rescues, and these are highly populated areas near Wauwatosa in Milwaukee, and really the rain came in Saturday afternoon. And instead of just a 1 to 2 hour thunderstorm like Wisconsin usually sees, oh no, we're not going to do 2 hours. We're going to go all the way through the night into Sunday morning, and this is what happens. The water had nowhere to go. So saturated soils, and they had 8 to 9 inches of rain. So in this forecast here, I think Wisconsin gets a break in the rain, and we do here as well in the Sunshine State. In fact, some of those record-setting rainfall totals along the coastal areas of Pinellas, okay? This verified the forecast we've been talking about all last week. Paso Grill, really up to Reddington Shores, including Treasure Island. Look at these incredible rainfall totals, 5 to 8 inches. Okay, so this is a big time rain event we had. And even though we didn't have a tropical storm, so to speak, this was the influence of a tropical wave. Okay, so again, a little extra moisture to work with in the atmosphere, yeah, raining out right over us. And as we look at the good news, though, now we're smiling because we have a new weather pattern, new school year, and let me step out of the way. This is Jameson's family. He just sent this in, so I want to thank Jameson, the Euler fam there. His kids are growing up way too fast, and I love how they're all matching. Okay, they got the matching uniforms, and they got, I think that's water in the little jug there, so that's good. So we'd love to see some of your family pictures, and of course we're not going to forget our very own Sarah Rosario. And yes, look at the little guy. Isn't that a beautiful family? So Sarah's sending this in, and again, Sarah was dropping her kids off at school this morning. So on 10 Tampa Bay this morning, we were talking about what a great mom she is, and of course Jameson, a great dad there, and there's the little ones. And the little one's kind of funny. See that little smile because he's holding a flag from last year. It says last day of first grade. So like his mom, he's a little jokester. He's a little funny guy. Anyway, let's come back and take a look. First day of school success. In case you missed it, there was our beautiful sunrise, and we're going to get used to more of these. And there's our St. Pete Pier there. It doesn't get much better. We'll watch a few clouds this afternoon, but the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere are drying out. So we're going to see more in the way of blue skies, but we've got plenty of heating, okay? And we're going to watch that high-res futurecast light up a bit. Now, the first areas to see the rain I still think would be inland, okay? You get out toward Polk County, Lakeland, the I-4 corridor, Lake Wales, and maybe inland Manatee, Sarasota counties as we head toward about 4:30. So really getting the kids to school and picking them up, not a big issue. It's the after-school activities, because as we put this into motion, we said there would be plenty of heating instability to work with, and that tends to flare up these storms. So this is more of our typical summer pattern, right? Okay, so we see that from Pinellas to Pasco, Hillsborough, up to areas of the Nature Coast, and maybe a strong storm or two. So we'll be here for you, and this is at 8 o'clock this evening. And then as we head overnight, we lose the daytime heating, and all is well. So again, this week we'll have very warm subtropical flow continued out of the southeast. We're going to have plenty of heating, and I think we're going to start to see the transition from the rain to the heat. So our back to school forecast, picking up the kids, looking great this afternoon. Just watch out for that stray storm, 91 up toward areas of the Citrus County, Hernando, Pasco County, and then we look toward Gulf Beaches Elementary. We featured this school this morning on our newscast. Okay, they're open for the first time since Hurricane Helene just drenched their school, and unfortunately a storm surge of 3 to 4 feet. So the kids are finally back, and yes, the good news is a quick downpour, okay, not hours of rain. That would be as we head into early evening. Down to the south again, 3 to 7. It's not going to rain for 4 hours is the good news. So for the Otters, looking good getting to and out of school, watching for that evening storm. And then inland, we said maybe coming a little earlier toward Elbert Elementary for the Eagles. So if you're one of the parents in the pickup lines, yeah, get out there and there may be a shower out there by 2 o'clock with 92 degrees. But take a look at the big next 2 days and you can see instead of the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 inches of rain, our scale is down to about a ½ inch to an inch for the most part. And notice why I dropped that rain coverage there down to 40%. So we'll watch for that lightning after 4 o'clock. And as we go into Tuesday, yeah, maps are still updating there, waiting on the computer, but there it goes. We're watching maybe a little uptick in the storms, but again, more of those storms would be after the final bell. Sunny and a smart start for the kids with that 50% coverage. Next 10 days, we talked about the heat. Woo, Jameson. I mean, Jameson's going to have to make sure those kids have plenty of water, okay, and maybe some electrolytes. Got to slow it down. And yes, Sarah's got the little ones with the backpacks packed with water as well, because we're going to go from 101 on Monday for the rest of today in the shade to 107 Friday. That would be very close to heat advisory criteria. Also, how about some football? You ready? King at Seminole, high school football. I'm ready. We got 7 o'clock kickoff, and notice 87 degrees, so it's going to be hot for the kids out there. So that's the theme for coaches. Make sure you take plenty of practice breaks out there, plenty of water and electrolytes. Just a 30% chance of a storm, and those temperatures holding in the mid to upper 80s throughout the game. 7-day forecast. Here's the heat really starting to kick up. Low to mid 90s, and I even lowered the rain chances as we went through the week. Thursday, Friday, we'll be watching the tropics together, of course. And the big weather question is this. Let's come on back with me and Dr. J here. I've got the chalkboard out for us.
Okay.
All right. Rock Chalk Weather Talk. So Gina sent this in. She lives in Atlanta. We've got streaming folks all over the world, as I told you, not just England, but up in Georgia. She wants to know, can we still go to Hilton this weekend, okay, with hurricane brewing in the tropics? So you want to go first, and then I'll give my answer.
Well, I showed you mine. I hope you were paying attention, because if she's talking about what is going to be Hurricane Erin, yes, it's going to be near just to the north of the Lesser Antilles. Now, again, what we were talking about is through the weekend into early next week, you might start to see some high surf, so you're going to have to pay attention to that. But again, that should have no effect on the weather in Hilton Head this weekend.
We match. Ding, 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 ding.
Yes,
Go have
some fun.
And you talked about the surf, so I think you're going to like this, Dr. J. Okay, so let's look at the surf map here. Here's the wave heights. We'll analyze this together as a team. We're looking for some big waves, big surf, nasty seas, rip currents. This is for the east coast of Florida. That's the big concern there. There's still a lot of folks on summer vacation. This is not a good combination. So watch what happens. Here's Monday. We'll just put this in motion together for you. Boy, you see that, just a major hurricane winding up just south of Bermuda. So that's late next weekend, early the following. So that's a week from today, Monday. Here's Florida, and we're already starting to feel the impact from this system, okay? So, and a lot of times, you know, the surf, you'll see the long wave period come up. A lot of energy, a lot of motion in the ocean, and you can see some of those wave heights easily will be up over 20 feet, and then we're going to see some big surf coming toward our east coast of Florida, all the way up to Hilton and the Carolinas as we go through the week.
Yeah, I was watching, and it's funny because Bobby and I were tracking Dexter just last week, and that thing was just a tropical storm, and you were looking at 30 to 40 foot swells out of that one. Of course, it was out in the open water, but again, that is just the strength that these things have to be able to push that towards the coast. The good news is the timing of that. It really won't be making that turn and getting close to the coast of the Carolinas until we get to Wednesday into Thursday. So I think this weekend's a good green light for that.
Okay, yeah, just be careful in the ocean. The rip currents will be on the increase, and we'll be watching really the heat building here at home while we watch the tropics. So we'll continue to stream and update you with the very latest here. And I know we only have a couple minutes left. And did you have any questions that you would like to go over? I gather as many of your questions as I can. A lot of folks just want to know, are we going to see this come toward us? And right now I'm just settling people down. I said, pump the brakes. We're not seeing that right now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we're going to track. You know, it doesn't really matter how the strength of this if it stays out to sea, but it's going to be all about our impacts and what we're looking at here. And that's what we're going to keep a very close eye on as we go throughout the week. Again, we're looking at this thing making a turn up to the north as we go throughout day 8, 9, 10. So it is still well away from us. So if the forecast does kind of make a shift kind of here and there, now is the time to prepare, because we know what could potentially happen with these systems. So we got to keep a close eye on things. And as we go throughout this week and get a little closer to the weekend, as we get even more forecast models in, that will be the good news, is that, of course, we will be looking at seeing, kind of tweaking the forecast down a little bit. We'll continue to watch that area of high pressure to see where we are going to see that, maybe allowing that to make a turn to the north. So what we're going to be talking about more here in the interim in this week is going to be some of this heat. Check out the heat index forecast. Again, we're talking about low to mid 90s, so our temperature is not going to be that much above where we normally are for this time of year, but with all that tropical moisture that came in, 4 days worth of very heavy rain, all that's got to evaporate. You know what happens when that evaporates? It just adds to our humidity. So while we're going to see our rain chances go down just a little bit throughout this week, and maybe by the time we get to Thursday into Friday, Mike just showed you that 7-day forecast, we are looking a little bit below average for our rainfall, but we're still going to have all that humidity around that allows us to warm up just a little bit. Look at your expected rainfall. Again, going up just a little bit for tomorrow in coverage. And then we'll see it start to go back down. Thursday, Friday look to be some of the drier days, possibly some of the hotter days. And you can see there, even with the 40 to 50 today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, we're looking at to be mainly as we go throughout the late afternoon through the evening. And again, unfortunately, always for that evening commute. So keep it here, and of course, we'll keep you posted on all of that, keep you up to date on Tropical Storm Erin as we get a little closer to us as we go through next week.